My first kiss was underwater. I was 15 years old. The school year came to an end, and the class had a semester party to celebrate. I don't normally go to parties during high school, being the awkward kid that I am, but what the hell? Another school year ended, and the venue for the party was near my village, so I came and went. It was a pool party, and while I was hanging out with my circle, one of my classmates went up to me asking if she could borrow my shirt because her two-piece bathing suit was too revealing. This girl is one of the prettiest and smartest students in the school campus, and I kept wondering, if she really were that smart, she would have thought of bringing an extra shirt, lol. But that's where it all started. I gave her my favorite orange shirt that I'm wearing at the moment, because I'm a dweeb and she's a school princess. She gets everything she wants. As I was about to leave, because I really don't have a thing for parties back then, she wouldn't give the shirt back and insisted that I go back to the pool and drink a little bit more. I declined. So she used the old trick of getting help out of the pool, and when I took her hand, she forced me back into the pool like a mother F. She laughed, and I did too. We knew each other for 3 years, but we were never really close friends. As we made small talk, we were getting farther from the ledge of the pool and into the deeper part of it. I was taller, so when she couldn't reach the floor, she climbed on my back. When the topic swayed to her giving my t-shirt back again, she refused, again. I told her I was going to drop her off so she would drown and die a horrible death if she wouldn't give me my shirt. She refused again. And I did drop her for a brief moment and picked her up again, this time in a way that she's hugging me now. I laugh, and she did too, saying I was a jerk while her hand was at my neck and her head was laying on my shoulders. She then very much insisted on me staying for a little while so she could still wear a shirt to the pool party. At this point, I was so confused. And for a wimpy kid like me to even be hanging out with a girl like her is something I cannot comprehend. And she's clearly not that drunk. So, in the spur of the moment, as we were having a good time with the back and forth discussion about the shirt thingy, I just man up for whatever reason and proposed her a deal. I shakingly said, I'll stay so she could keep wearing my shirt. Only and only if she would kiss me right there and then. She let out an absurdly cute giggle and just nodded at me while smiling. And she returned her face to my shoulder. Man, I was so head over heels for her at that time, and I was really struggling to act cool despite being surprised by her gesture. We were both whispering at this point, and after a brief moment of awkward silence, we both agreed that we can't do it right there and then, seeing as some of our classmates were already staring at us. I jokingly suggest we went to the bathroom, but that would be way, way obvious. She, on the other hand, recommended that we simply went for a dip and did it underwater. And so we did. She slipped from our hug and dipped first. I exhaled before shortly following her deep into the pool. I saw her blurry face slowly going for the kiss. As our lips touched, her body fell into mine. We were floating sideways underwater while making out. My first kiss was one for the books. The girlfriend experience. Times were tough. It was no secret I was miserable. A cloud of gloom followed me everywhere, including my job. A relationship breakup like mine would put anyone to the test, and frankly, I was failing it. Still, I had bills to pay, and it wasn't going to help if I gave up and stopped getting out of bed. Each day I dragged myself to the office and go through the motions like a zombie. I know my performance and attitude suffered, but I didn't care at the time. Much of the occupational grief and aggravation of the 9-to-5 grind involved being employed so a person could afford nice things and have a fulfilling relationship with a significant other. Once the relative rewards of that dynamic went out the window, so did my motivation to work. I guess it's a testament to my ability to do my job well that I wasn't fired outright after I went off on a difficult client. Behavior like that was a threat to the corporate bottom line. Obviously, they didn't want that. Apparently, they didn't want to let me go either. Instead, management tried a very unorthodox tactic, which I only found out about much later. They actually hired a temp to romance me and boost my ego. It's called the girlfriend experience because it is supposed to feel real. It's far more than paying a person to be intimate with me. That stipulation wasn't even in the contract. Legally, it couldn't be. They just paid her to pretend to be infatuated and smitten. How she managed to achieve that artificial flattery was her business. I must say, it totally caught me off guard. In all fairness, I might have recognized the snow job a mile away if I wasn't deeply sad and emotionally vulnerable. Instead, I ate up the attention with a spoon. They were smart enough to not hire a supermodel. They found a lady that was probably in the top register of who I might have had a chance with in real life, if I tried really hard to woo her. Not that I had to, mind you. She was the definition of a ringer. I gotta say, it takes a certain skill set to seduce a person with that level of believable sincerity. I totally fell for it. They brought her into the office and assigned her to assist me on a big account. At first, it pissed me off. I didn't care that she was attractive and working extremely closely with me. I resented the idea of having to hold anyone's proverbial hand and training her to be actually helpful. To my relief, she was a quick study and eager to learn. Knowing what I know now, I still marvel at the theatrics and lengths the company went through to insert this woman into my life. It is kind of flattering to know they orchestrated the whole thing. I know it was only about the money I normally brought in, but it makes me feel damn important. Missy was coy at first, respectful and aloof even. She maintains a polite distance while giving off a slight smitten vibe or schoolgirl crush. Like a big knucklehead, I swallowed the performance hook, line, and sinker. The truth is, I wanted to believe. Honestly, who in their right mind would have suspected such an elaborate hoax from my behalf? It wasn't long before we were sneaking off after hours to see each other socially. The whole time, I was scared to death they would send her back to the temp agency. Inter-office romance is strictly forbidden by HR, so we kept the relationship a secret as long as we could. Once we had moved past a certain point, I didn't care if anyone found out. I was finally happy again. By all appearances, she was too. I eventually asked her to marry me, and she accepted. Of course, I didn't know it was originally an arranged fling, so I definitely wouldn't have guessed it was about to lead to an arranged marriage. The thing is, at what point does the facade cease to be worth playing along with for the corporate payout? Even for a person pretending to be interested in me, at some point, you'd think she would call the whole thing off, right? Either that, or invent an excuse to break things off and still maintain the original deception. Here was an actress who entered into a contract to perform as, quote, my girlfriend, and then, for whatever reason, kept up the pretense long enough to marry me. At that point, I still didn't know the truth. I would have expected my employers to come clean, but it had went too far. It's one thing to pay for a brief little office flirtation. It's quite another to keep silent while their gullible employee committed to a legally binding contract. I was blissfully happy and absolutely ignorant to the disturbing truth. She was everything I thought I ever wanted. Believe it or not, she confessed the whole organized charade on our 25th wedding anniversary. I was gobsmacked. I thought it was part of some prank or practical joke, but she was dead serious. My whole world crumbled. Our 3 children were grown up and already out of the house. I'd made partner with the firm, and yet I found out the last 25 years of my life were based on some bizarre farcical performance script. Missy explained that while she had entered into the contract just trying to be a professional actress, she soon developed sincere feelings for me. On one hand, after admitting it started as an elaborate seduction hoax, it was hard to believe anything she said. On the other hand, however, I'd had a quarter-century of marital happiness and fantastic kids. Was she finally telling the truth? Or was she still acting as a consummate professional actress dedicated to the role? I thought long and hard about it as she slept peacefully beside me. I loved her, and I honestly believe she loves me. Much of life is pretending until it becomes true. In the end, does the duration of the facade matter as long as both parties are committed to it? I shut down a 14-year-old's attempt. Okay, so first, let me describe what I look like. Trust me, it's relevant. I'm a 20-year-old male, 5'11", 280 pounds, sport a full beard, wear flannel jeans and work boots all year round, an avid martial artist, never go anywhere without my fixed-blade buck knife. I kind of look like I should be in a motorcycle gang. Really, just the whole 9 yards of intimidating young man. So basically, even though I'm really a big softy at heart, you probably wouldn't want to see me coming down a dark alley at night. So I just spent the last few weeks helping this lady I've known for like half my life with the task of running a building at the fair. Well, along with myself and her are her kids, who are my somewhat distant cousins. But by random chance, I've grown up with them in 4-H for like the last decade. Anyway, it's her 15-year-old daughter and her 10-year-old son and her 2-year-old daughter. There is also this other lady helping out who has 2 kids of her own and is a good friend of the lady I'm helping. One of her kids is a 14-year-old boy who has a really obvious and unrequited crush on my cousin. Now, this crush thing doesn't bother me at all or anything. I honestly just cringed at how obvious it was when he first showed up. Later on, my cousin tells me about how this kid has already tried to ask her out, but she's basically just not interested and turned him down. The part that becomes an oof is that their moms are close friends, so they keep having to hang out together, and they're actually pretty okay friends. Cool, so now for the actual story. The three of us were sitting together running the front table of the building at the fair. The seating is important. It's me behind the table, my cousin sitting next to me, then this kid sitting next to her in kind of kitty corner so he can face more towards her. Well, at some point while we were sitting there, passing around memes and listening to music, she did something. I'm not sure what it was. I think she jokingly took his phone or something. Well, this started a little wrestling contest with her trying to keep his phone away from him and him trying to get it back. After he got his phone back, his revenge was to reach out and start tickling her around the waist. Still fine, but it got my attention because he put his hand under her shirt to do it. That was sort of a yellow flag for me, and I decided to keep an eye on where this was going. He pulled back from the tickling. I could see the wheels turning in his horny little brain. Let me be clear that I recognize this because I was once a horny little shit of a teenager too. So I was watching him to go through the same thought process I would have gone through at his age as I realized I could get away with putting my hands all over a pretty girl with a good excuse. In eye-rolling predictability, he went back in for round 2. This time, doubling down on the personal space invasion. I've had enough of this to turn my head away from Reddit on my phone and dramatically raise my gaze to look him straight in the eyes from underneath the edge of my westernish-style hat. He catches my eye. She is laughing and bent over and fending off the tickle attack that I don't think she understood the significance of. So she couldn't see either of our faces. At that moment, while he's looking my way, I narrow my eyes ever so slightly with a slight frown. The message is sent and received loud and clear in the ancient language of manliness. Son, you might be getting away with this by her standards, but I understand what you are doing and I don't appreciate you trying to feel up my little cousin right in front of me. If you know what's good for you, you'll get off this train at the next station. The look on his face was priceless. A half an ounce each of shame and embarrassment from realizing that he wasn't as smooth as he thought, mixed with just a quarter ounce of terror at realizing he was on the wrong side of someone who looks like me, and just a pinch of fear that I might say something that would put all of this out in the open. Well, it was a delicious drink. He pulled his hands away from her so fast that I wouldn't have been surprised to hear the sound barrier crack. We then had a silent moment where his expression said clearly in that same old language, "Oh, S. My apologies, mister. I won't let it happen again, and certainly not in your presence. Could I beg you the kindness of not destroying me physically or emotionally? Please have mercy." I allowed him to quietly get out of this one, but not before sending the message back that he would be allowed this mistake, but would not be given another chance to get off so easy. Overall, I'm actually way more proud of this than I have any right to be. The girl has been something of a surrogate sister to me, so I definitely felt like a big brother looking out for his little sis. And if you are thinking I might have been overreacting and making something out of nothing, I made a comment about this to her later, and her response confirmed that my read of the situation was right on the money. Too long, didn't read. Little perv tried to feel up my little sister right in front of me because he thought a tickle fight was good enough cover to get away with it. I silently intimidated him into stopping with nothing more than a glance in his direction, and I'm proud of myself for it.